Have you ever noticed how society often expects us to be happy all the time? But then when we actually are happy, there's this weird expectation that we should feel guilty about it. I mean, isn't it odd how sometimes when we are genuinely enjoying ourselves, we might hear comments like, "Stop being so happy. You're gonna make the rest of us feel bad," or "Can you please tone it down? You're being too joyful." These comments can really put a damper on your happiness, can't they? It's almost as if expressing happiness is seen as selfish. In this video, we want to talk about why aiming for constant happiness is not only an unrealistic goal, but also why it can be detrimental to our well-being. So let's unpack this idea together. Why is constant happiness even an issue? Well, because of the illusion of happiness. Happiness is often portrayed as this big, flashy emotion, right? But in reality, it's more like a small, quiet flame. It's subtle, peaceful, and just there. A lot of the times when we think we've reached this big burst of euphoria, we're actually experiencing something called "I'm happy." That's a state of contentment and satisfaction with life. And while it's wonderful, it's not the same as constantly being in a euphoric state. Imagine a day at the beach. The sun is shining, the waves are crashing, and you're building a sandcastle with your family. In that moment, you're completely absorbed and content. But then you realize you have to go home. You start packing up your things, and suddenly that perfect day takes a turn. The sun isn't as shiny, the waves aren't as soothing, and you're not as carefree. This shift in emotions is completely normal. Those moments of intense happiness are like the highlights in our lives. The fireworks on New Year's Eve, they're amazing, but they don't last forever. The problem arises when we start equating these highlights with everyday life. We begin to think, if I'm not constantly happy, something's wrong with me. But the truth is, it's impossible to stay on a constant high. Our brains and bodies weren't designed for it. Then there's the pressure to stay positive. Telling someone to just stay positive is like telling them to just not feel negative emotions. It's invalidating and unhelpful. When we bottle up our negative emotions, pretend that everything's fine, we're essentially lying to ourselves and others. We're creating this false image of happiness. Happiness isn't the absence of negative emotions. It's the presence of positive ones. Here's something to consider. If you had a terrible day, but then someone told you to just stay positive and ignore all the bad stuff, what would you think? You might feel angry, frustrated, misunderstood, and those feelings are valid. They tell us that something isn't right. Our brains didn't evolve to constantly be happy. They evolved to keep us alive. Emotions like anger, sadness, and fear once served a purpose, helping us survive. They're not inherently bad. We need the full spectrum of emotions to be human. And here's another interesting point. Research shows that people who suppress their negative emotions have higher blood pressure and weaker immune systems. Basically, trying to be happy all the time can take a toll on your health. So what does true well-being look like? It's not a constant state of happiness. It's a life full of ups and downs, moments of joy and sorrow, triumph and defeat. The key is how we manage these emotions, how we learn to navigate the full spectrum of human feelings. Here are some healthy practices. First, we can practice self-awareness. Pay attention to your emotions. Don't try to push them away or ignore them. Feel them, understand them, and then decide how to respond. Next, focus on experiences over things. Remember that feeling of building a sandcastle at the beach. Nurture those experiences. They'll bring you more lasting happiness than any material item. Also, practice gratitude. When you focus on what you're grateful for, you shift your perspective away from what's lacking towards what you already have. So how can we reframe this idea of happiness? How about defining it as a quiet, steady flame instead of a firework? This flame can guide you through life, warming you in the cold moments and illuminating the path ahead. It's not flashy, but it's constant and reliable. We've talked a lot about how chasing constant happiness can be harmful. Let's circle back to that opening scenario. Imagine being at the beach again. This time you're building a sandcastle with your family. Someone walks by and says, "Can you guys tone down the happiness? It's making me feel bad." You might think, "Wow, that's their problem, not mine." And you'd be right. Your happiness isn't a disturbance. It's a natural expression of human emotion. The person who feels bothered by your happiness likely has their own struggles that need addressing. But it's not your responsibility to fix their emotional state. You see, happiness isn't selfish. It's a source of strength, resilience, and well-being. It's a guiding light in tough times and a warm embrace during moments of joy. So keep that flame burning brightly, knowing that your quiet, steady happiness is a source of strength and healing for yourself and those around you. Thanks for watching MindSpaceDaily, and see you next time.